Thank you. 2 comments. Number 1 is that the board is looking at a dispute resolution mechanism so that if people do have problems with the process, they would have recourse. That's my first statement. The second statement is that I think globally right now, because of terrorism, you cannot claim that you would cover your face to go past screening. If you don't want your face to be seen, then don't travel.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for using that illustration. I hope it makes more sense now. Mark, please.
Mark Tinker, CECOM. As much as I believe that there needs to be always a way to improve performance, for any organization, I think the community also needs to do its part in assisting AFRINIC to provide you the resources that you require as soon as possible. A good example for us at CECOM, we requested for a reasonably large chunk of address space IPv4 earlier this year, and we knew it was going to be difficult because we know in the past, even before AFRINIC became AFRINIC, that this is how it goes. So we arranged a meeting with the hostmasters at AFRINIC before the application to say, this is what we need, this is when we need it, what do you need from us, what can we start to do now to get this information out to you as soon as possible. And they told us what we need to do, and we got that information ready. So the community needs to do its part as well. I know obviously it gets more difficult as the allocation requirement gets larger, but the essence is the same. We need to do our part to make the lives of AFRINIC easier to do the work for us. But then, yes, everybody does need to improve. And I believe, as Sandy said, the board is looking at how to do that.
Thank you, Mark.
Vladimir again. I just would like to tell that we're not yet member because we're still waiting on certain approvals, which is not clear. And I would like to propose in the content of this guidelines, or potentially you can do it some differently, some principles which will resolve the problem. Because normally if you do in any government organization application, the application will not be accepted until you provide all data. But since you provide all data and your application accepted, they have no means to reject it because they accept it, and timing is started from day of application. And if, for instance, I can tell you the story with my personal thing, when I applied to be a citizen of Cyprus, they failed to deliver the documents in the time in what's set. And I just simply went to the court and I got my passport. Simple as it. So because they failed to deliver solution and response in the time when they're supposed to do it. So I don't think that we are in the community where we have begging someone or talking to someone. And my personal experience, I'm talking with Arthur, I'm talking with other guys, is a no man's. You talk to them, they say, no, 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 no. Very polite, very nice, but no, 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 no. Come on, guys, it's at the end of the day, we want this community to run the network in the Africa efficiently. Why you make all of them feeling like they have to beg for the one IP? I'm sorry, we apply for /22. Do you feel that we as a company, which is 20 years on the market, we are top 100 IS in the world, and we need to beg for /22 in AFRINIC because it's so complicated? So this is my emotional. I'm very sorry to be a little bit emotional, but I try to be honest. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much. I think your point is generally, I've closed the floor.
Can I just take a, sorry.
I haven't, Lou, hello. I've closed the floor. I haven't actually said you should speak. The floor is closed. So please, any other comment, can you send it on the mailing list? This is not just the only.
Just one sentence.
No, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
But Andrew gets that one sentence the last time. It's not fair. I'm a community member here as well. So you get last time, I should get it well.
Lou, on that basis, I will still say I actually, as the chair, have the discretion to actually say you should speak or not. You coincidentally, unless what you want to say is in response to what has been said,
Yes, I'm going to respond to what Vladimir.
No, but can you send it on the mailing list, please? Can you?
I can, of course, but
thank you. I'm gonna quickly say something, and then we'll quickly conclude this session. Myself and my colleague, we have actually deliberated on this particular proposal. We observe that there is gross statement relating to the fact that this problem, if there is indeed a problem, is something that can be resolved by staff. And we are also glad to hear that our board is actually going to set up a process to resolve any dispute between one staff or the other. However, before I mention our final conclusion about this, I would like to ask Kamon if he has any final statement or comment before we give our final observation. Any comments? Do you have any comment? Okay. All right. Thank you. So, in view of this, we observe that there is no consensus to move this policy to the next level. We are also going to send this back to the mailing list, and at the same time, we will recommend to the author to consider withdrawing the proposal. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so the next session is going to be on the open mic. And yeah, we've actually spent so much time. What time is it now? This is 6. Can we agree to do this in 30 minutes? Do we have consensus to do this in 30 minutes? Consensus? If you agree, raise your hand. 20. Oh, someone says 20. Okay. Shorter, that's fine. So we all should try to be as brief as possible. Shit. Sorry. Off record. We actually missed one particular, we're supposed to do one particular session by Madvi. Madvi, could you quickly come over and do this in 5 minutes if you can? Thank you. Could you bring up Madvi's presentation, please? Madvi, I would like to request that you kindly rush through this. Any comments regarding to Madvi's presentation will be taken during the open mic session. Thank you.
Thank you, Shun. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's now the time for the Policy Implementation Experience Report that we have drafted. And slides, please. This is the 4th Policy Implementation Experience Report that I have been making to the community at our public policy meetings. There have been some additions to the slides. We do have evolved in the slides content. You'll see over the since we started until now, there has been some evolutions, but some of the issues that we observe are still there, and we're trying to go through what we usually do to move ahead with the resource requests. So the first slide regards the IPv4 allocation policy. There is one statement there that AFRINIC is responsible for the allocation of IP address space, AS numbers, and management of reverse domain names within the region. And we do get challenges, like where is it stated that AFRINIC should issue IP addresses to organizations, using the IP addresses in the region. The way we read policies actually is like we read the full policies, okay? And while reading the other documents that govern AFRINIC as a business, we have AFRINIC bylaws, which are published on our website, and we have the registration service agreement that binds, that's a contract that our members sign with them. So we do have two documents, two business documents, and we have all the policies that are proposed by the community and ratified by the board if they have reached consensus. So we work with a mix of documents. So the section 6.1 of the AFRINIC bylaws does state that membership shall be open to any person who is geographically based within and providing services in the African region. So the current RS practice, I think most of our members and the community know about it. We look for legal presence in the region. We look for the proof of infrastructure and operation in the AFRINIC service region. We look whether they are providing services to end users and if there's any evidence of connectivity and operation. Okay? For the ISPs, if they claim to be ISPs in the region, they usually have a license that they get from the operator to regulate, and we usually accept that as well. So most of the time, we slow start as per the policy by default, because the policy does mention that we shall slow start unless there is evidence of existing network operations. In terms of additional allocations, which are still treated in that, there is a clause in that policy regarding additional allocations. So far, we have approved requests if a small percentage is being used for POPs outside the AFRINIC service region, because it's an extension of the operator's infrastructure outside the region. So the issues is we are getting challenged, we get continuously challenged in regard to where is it written in the policy. Our members, even our members, they forget that they have that we have the bylaws, and we also have the registration service agreement with them. We still see offshore companies that are being set up. We have a process in place for offshore companies because as part of the offshore certificate of incorporation, we need to establish where they are actually operating from. We have also faced issues where companies have duplicated other organizations' websites, certificate of incorporation. Okay? The only thing that gave them away was the email domains. So we had to go through very diligent evaluation to catch those irregularities, if I may say. So the same policy, the IPv4 allocation policy, does state that an LIR can get 80%, can get another additional allocation if they have used 80% of the current allocation in valid assignments and or sub-allocations. So we look at the assignments registered in the WHOIS database. We verify if the prefixes in use appear in the Internet routing table. We also look but we also found that some of the assigned IP addresses, the statistics could not be demonstrated, because usually to make a projection, as per policy, we have to issue for the next 12 months, but to make projections, we usually base ourselves on the growth of the customer growth of our members. In some cases, we had published the guidelines for LIR members as part of the initiative to teach and approve their requests. So the issues that we faced are like assignments are registered under all countries, any choice, depending on the choice of the LIR, okay? Our members are still reluctant to give us information about the assignments they make. The policy does have a clause that the LIRs or the organizations getting resources from AFRINIC must document the decision behind them making such assignments. We also have like refusal to provide information regarding the IP address resource utilization because our members tell us they have an NDA signed with their customers. Yet, when they come to AFRINIC, they sign the RSA, which does have an NDA, saying that we will not disclose this information to any third party. This policy, this is the end user assignment policy. These slides exist, I think, since from the first one. We have not seen any evolution in the policy in regard to multi-homing. We have had requests from organizations before who could not qualify for the 50%. They could not justify the 50% usage that the policy states, okay, and they were mentioning that they will be multi-homing. The end-user assignment policy does not take multi-homing as a factor to issue at least the minimum assignment, which is a /24. Finally, we have, in regards to mergers and acquisitions, we have a guideline that we publish, and the current practice is that we do ask information about the transfer case. And if there have been any changes in ownership due to merger, sales, or takeover, or if the member has stopped serving as an LIR, then we do have, the document is detailed as to what we will look at, and if service continuity is also established. I mean, we have to look at whether there'll be service continuity or not. It's only then that we approve the request. But what we have seen is we do have transfer requests being received, or like queries about if transfers are allowed. Some of the requests are non-merger and non-acquisitions related, usually from one LIR to another. And we also have a change of name request without relevant documentation as proof. So my questions to the community should AFRINIC registration services carry on with the current practices? Should we carry on giving the policy implementation experience report as well? I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madhvi. If we could just have the slide for the open mic up. And I'm going to ask that we'll do this within the next 15 minutes so that we can leave this place. I hereby declare the floor open. Comments on what Madhvi has just presented is welcome, and any other comment. The floor is open. Before you make your comment or observation, I would like you to state, to note that this time around we're going to be strict with timing. Please do whatever you want to say it in 2 minutes. If it passes that, we're going to cut you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Chitra. It's a comment. We have AFRINIC, we have Africa Cert. Both are experts in their field. I suggest both to work together. We can have a one-stop shop where companies can get their IPs and advice on security. Maybe now you're not seeing the need for it, But rest assured, in future we may have maybe a cyber war. And companies can go bankrupt due to hacking. So loss of data and misusage of data. So hacking and security are emergency. You can see America already facing it. Just check the international newspapers. And I'd like to know what will be the stand of African countries in this context. United, you can find a solution. Otherwise, we will have to depend on other countries, like usual. That's all.
Thank you. Next person. Okay.
Looks like there are people at the back that are going to race to the mic. I don't know what they have, but...
Oh, so people want to race to the mic. Do we need to clear the...
1, 2, 3, go!
What's that about? Okay. Does that give you... Okay, so...
so he'll have to...
Great.
I believe that gives me the right to speak. I ask the chairs to rule on this.
Yeah, please. Andrew, go ahead, please.
Yeah, after that bit of fun. Sandra and I were racing to the mic to actually bring up pretty much the same issue and see how we could discuss it. As raised earlier, sorry I'm a little bit winded. As raised earlier, in looking for a way to speed up policy proposals within the PDP, one of the things that RIPE did, and Sander will speak more to this, is to decouple the PDP from the face-to-face meetings entirely, so that policy proposals can be done and concluded entirely on the mailing list, which eliminates that 6-month gap of waiting for another face-to-face meeting constantly. Now, I am not sure whether or not that requires a bylaw change or whether or not we can do that within the framework of the PDP. And I'd like to hear comments and thoughts on the idea to simply say that, yes, when there is a face-to-face, we'll have PDP meetings. I think these meetings are great. They lead to a lot of discussion. But I'd like to see the coupling of the PDP to face-to-face meetings eliminated to eliminate the long delays it creates. And Sander can speak to that further, but I had to go first because I did beat him fair and square.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. That's a very good point. Take note that, yeah, so it's something that needs to be considered. However, note that the implication of that is we won't be having any meeting at all, because that is actually the reason why we have 2 meetings in the first place. I don't know whether you want to lose those travel experience, but just take note of the repercussion of what you've just said. However, on a more serious note, I think face-to-face dialogue is also important. There are some things that you can't write in mails. There are some things that some people prefer perhaps not to do mail communication, maybe when they come physically, and there's a lot of side talks in physical meetings that actually help improve the quality of a policy. All right, thank you. Lou?
Just to be fair, I have a stopwatch here, 2 minutes, right? Okay, start. The first comment I want to have is about what we've just said about the service quality of AFRINIC. I think it's actually on the other side, it's actually high risk for AFRINIC to hold like whole custom data of the whole continent of all the IRs. And if there is actually a leakage of such data, in any case, I mean, risk might happen, and it might cause problem for AFRINIC at expense of membership. At the expense of memberships to solving the potential legal issues, and that's what will be my first comment. And the second comment about the current policy practice, which in each meetings, I still firmly believe that meeting face-in-face and discuss face-in-face in a session is valued and would be appreciated. Of course, travel is nice, but that's the other plus. But I do believe that each policy, especially when the policy does impact everybody in the continent, the whole internet in the continent, such policy development process should be taken seriously. And compared to most of lawmakers, the time taken for most of lawmakers to do in most parliament, I really believe 6 months is not a very long time. It's serious and it's cautioned process which helps the development of the process, making it agreed by and reached by most of the members and most of the ISPs on the continent, so to avoid any mistake in this. And I think that's more important than faster development. And the last point, since my 15 seconds left, is I believe the AFRINIC overall is a good organization, and we should improve its organizational structure by learning some operation experience from other IR, the larger one like RIPE and CC, for example. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's right on spot.
Thank you, Liu. Next person, please.
Kaver Angel, RIPE and CC. A little bit of change of context. I wanted to talk about the new thing we heard this week about starting of a research team at AFRINIC. So the special projects group changed to research team headed by Alan. I wanted to say it's a very good idea. It will add a new pillar to the organization. It opens up a new horizon for activities and means many other entities, including governments, can rely on the data provided by an organization like AFRINIC. So I really praise that move. I hope the community provides more support and help. We as RIPE and CC, and I'm sure our community, we will do anything if there is any help we can provide. So it's a very good move, and this is very good news because it changes the idea of AFRINIC just as a registry or RIR to a bigger context of real network information center. So it's real AFRINIC. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Dr. Ni.
Thank you. Nikweno from Ghana.com. A number of people have mentioned to me about how good they felt about our policy process. So I want to commend you for the effort that we are all making as a community. I have to do that. Naturally, there's opportunity to improve, and so we should tune into the ideas that are coming across that can help improve those. I mean, I don't remember them, but I'm saying you are driving the show, so tune into those. And in particular, pay attention to the online discussions, because it looks like we agree or seem to be driving towards consensus online, but when we get to face, then we realize that it's challenging. So perhaps if you come up with some other techniques to strengthen that, you'll see yourself going to closure much faster. Yeah, and then also take advantage of the idea of BOFs that was mentioned earlier, because it has the potential of getting more people into maybe making better quality policies. And lastly, the comment I heard about Africa CERT and AFRINIC, they are already together. And if you want to see, come to AIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, I just would like to comment a couple of things in the proposal. If I'm not mistaken, because while you're reading that, there was some point about seashell companies. And it's an interesting point that, okay, if the company just seashell company and has no other relation and probably have some fake identity, etc. But from the other perspective, if it's a global company, which is a registered seashell company, in order to enable presence in African region and starting expanding into African region, starting from seashell company, what is the problem then? Why you see it's a problem? And that's, for instance, is our case. Because we are a public holding, and Seychelles company belongs to public holding. Public company registered in Cyprus and on Cyprus Stock Exchange. What is the problem with the Seychelles company then? Second question, if I'm not mistaken, you said that we need to request a license. It also sounds like you're closing the door Because, yeah, we licensed already in Hong Kong, we licensed in the 86 regions of Russia, we now pending license in China, we have an OPTA approval from Netherlands, and we have many other areas. But why we need to get the license before we get any allocation? Why it sounds like chicken and an egg, you know, so you will put us in the loop and we will not get the results. So it needs to be very carefully addressed.
Thank you, Madhvi. You want to respond to the first question and perhaps the second one?
Yeah. In terms of incorporation, usually we look at the certificate of founding document. So it can come into any format. But when we look at it, an offshore certificate does not entitle that organization to have services in the in that country where they are incorporated. It depends on the license, but most of the licenses that we have observed, it does not entitle that organization to have services, to operate from that country which issued that certificate. So the process is clear and applies to all. So we look at the certificate of incorporation, we look at the proof of infrastructure, etc. Now, regarding the licenses, I did mention that in the ISPs, Internet Service Providers, on the African continent, usually have a license from the regulator in the country they're operating. So that is an acceptable document as well. It does not apply to all the requests. It's not a standard, but what we look at is we need to look at the context, at what information has the requester given us, and then we respond to them. In some cases where sometimes the information is not clear, the information that gets supplied to us is not clear, then the host masters can ask, do you have a license? Then please provide us with a license, if any. Now, we try to bulk as much as possible all the information we need in the email that goes out to the requester. And what we also did was we documented our process through the new member registration portal, where we try and ask as much as information as possible upfront. Okay? So based on what we get, then we still have to evaluate.
Thank you, Madhvi. Thank you very much. I think, yeah, can you hold on? Let's get comment from others. We have, I've just cited 3 people now. I will appreciate if you could do it in less than 2 minutes. Any other person that wants to join should join now, but you'll be doing it at 30 seconds. So in the next three, at the count of 3, if you want to join the queue, please join. Andrew, you have 30 seconds. When is your turn? 1, 2, 3. The queue is closed. Alan, please. You may just stay queue behind Andrew. Yeah, but you do 30 seconds.
Hi, Alan Barrett. I have 2 small comments about the policy development process. The first is, I think it would be fine if we had some way of expediting the process, but we have to be careful. These face-to-face meetings are very useful, and this one today has been particularly useful. I've seen so many people speaking. It's been a very productive discussion. I do not want to lose that. Okay? So in the normal course of business, I do not want to lose the kind of discussion that we've had today. But in exceptional circumstances, if a proposal is so simple and so uncontroversial that we think we can do it without a public meeting because it has to go quickly, yes, maybe there's a way to do that. So I think if someone wants to write a proposal to modify their PDP to allow for a fast track, let's consider that on its merits when such a proposal is written.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm so now in love with Andrew. Thank you, Alan.
I'm sorry, Sean. I said I had 2 small comments about the PDP. May I make the second one?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's about the dispute resolution. A little earlier today, Andrew questioned your judgment about a consensus call, And I looked at the PDP for the dispute resolution, and the first step there is that if you have a dispute, you can discuss it with the chairs. And so I think when such a situation arises in the future, the chairs should be open to having a brief discussion, maybe off the microphone, to try to resolve the dispute.
I'll respond to that. We did have a discussion. One of the members did have a dispute, and there was a discussion about that. In addition, the discussion, I believe, was public, actually. So I made a little statement so we could all be clear on this.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Now I'm joining the back of the queue, or at least what was the back, to ask another question.
Sounds good. Yeah, there was a dispute earlier today regarding consensus. The co-chairs concur that they do not have the mandate to determine consensus against a proposal, only to evaluate a consensus in favor of a proposal, which moves it towards ratification. The presence or lack thereof of affirmative consensus is all the co-chairs are entitled to determine. Policy would need to be changed in order to allow for the determination of negative consensus. We have no way to say that a policy should be killed. We have no way to say that a consensus was so negative that it should no longer move forward. It's not in the PDP.
Okay, thank you very much for. So Adam has give quite very important information, and I hope that is useful to Andrew. And just to add to what Adam has, said. Yeah, so the process says that we should have a discussion with the person. So, and we have had the discussion. We had it on the floor, we had it on the side, and so I think we fulfill that. If the person is still not satisfied, the process says that you can then go through the appeal process. So we are open to that. We would like you to initiate that if you think that it is necessary. Thank you. The next person, please.
Yes, hi, this is Ken. I'd just like to make a comment concerning what Vladimir mentioned, and unfortunately he has left the room. Madhvi, I don't think Madhvi mentioned anything about the Seychelles. She mentioned offshore in her presentation.
It was on the slide, though, Seychelles.
Okay, Seychelles. So one of the things that to be able to provide service in a country, you need to be onshore. Okay, so I assume one of the things that he was mentioning, his company is an offshore company. So to be able to get a license or operate in a country, you need to be onshore. So offshore companies has no jurisdiction anywhere.
Okay, Madhvi, you want to say something?
You don't need to say anything.
You don't need to say anything. Okay. Okay. Next person.
Hi, Sanal Stefan, RIPE Azure Policy Working Group co-chair. Just wanted to share a little bit of how we do things in RIPE. Maybe you can use it. Thank you. Yeah. So. What we do, all the official decisions are always made on the mailing list for the reasons that the mailing list is easily acceptable, even for people who cannot travel. It's all documented, it's all archived. So we do everything officially on the mailing list. But I have to make a very strong point. The face-to-face meetings are extremely important because this is where you can talk, where the interaction is, where you can learn from each other. So those are definitely very important. So. Yes, I'm not an advocate of removing those. Keep those very strong. But if you do things on the mailing list, you make the community more open to others who are not able to travel, and you can even speed up the process a little bit. We have cases where, for example, Jan made a policy and there was one word wrong. Well, this is not something that you need a face-to-face discussion for. You just put it on the mailing list, say, hey, we made a mistake. Everybody agrees that it should be corrected, and you can be done very quickly. So if there's anything I can help with or share experiences, please let me know.
Yeah, actually, I've got something that's totally out of left field. But as we were talking to me, I kind of realized that one issue we have here is a little bit architectural. The fact that the people at the mic are always talking essentially against the people at the table, when really the debate should be with the entire community. because actually the only two neutral people or semi-neutral people here are the two that are actually sitting here. So there's no point really in talking to us. You should really be sitting, we should maybe next time consider setting up the mic in a situation that actually engages the room in a little more of a parliamentary way.
Oh, I like that idea. I'll keep it in mind for our own meetings.
Hi, Andrew here. Two minor comments, actually 3 minor comments. Firstly, Sander, I was told by someone from RIPE a few minutes ago that you're no longer getting your own microphone because you need more exercise. Just had to add that.
30 seconds, please.
Then Frank Habich has asked me to relay that he fully supports the decoupling as mentioned. I needed to say that I in no way propose removing from these meetings. I believe they're critical. I believe this meeting has been fantastic. I think the comments at the microphone and what people have said have been really fantastic. I was merely looking for a way to potentially speed it up because I don't think that everything needs to come back to these meetings. And then the only other point I need to raise, and I'd like to take this offline afterwards because I don't want the debate. I just wanted to say that the dispute that I raised earlier did not have to do with you declaring lack of consensus on the issue that you referred to. The dispute that I raised was related to your declaration of lack of consensus of the IXP policy, and they are different issues. And as such, it has a different impact on what was said. But I would like to ask the chairs if we can take this offline after this meeting and have a bit of a discussion so that we're all on the same page and can come to an agreement, if they would be willing to do so. Thank you very much.
No problem, and thank you very much.
Hi, Alan Barrett again. I have to reduce the height of the microphone after Andrew's been speaking. Yeah, so I looked at the bylaws, and it says that to be a member of AFRINIC, at least a resource member, you have to be based in Africa. And I understand that that can be a problem for some organizations. If you're a multinational and you're based somewhere else, but you're doing business in Africa, you don't satisfy that part of the bylaws, and so you can't be a member. So I understand that can be a problem. So I'd like us to think about whether or not to change that part of the bylaws. Is it really necessary? For me, I think what's important is that you should be doing business in Africa and have infrastructure in Africa. Where your head office is, I don't care about that. So maybe we should consider changing that part of the bylaws. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah.
Daniel Karnberg, someone experienced with making policy and policy development processes. I think I was very pleasantly surprised at this whole day. I saw lots of engagement and people really discussing the issues. I think also we should give the chairs a round of applause for handling this, because this is not really easy. And while we're on the subject of architecture, I think you're absolutely right with your comment about the architecture. I think that's something you should change a little bit. But also, I think one of the things you should consider is that once a proposal is made, it's property of the community. It's not it shouldn't be the property of the proposer, because you get the same thing. You know, somebody proposes something, and then if you're arguing against it, you're arguing against the person who's sitting in front. So I think you should think about how you work here with making sure that, yes, there's a proposal, somebody can speak in favor of it, but then it's a community discussion and not a whole room against one person. So that's something you should also think about. The other I forgot, so it can't be important.
Thank you. Douglas, I think we close the floor. I'm going to ask that you kindly don't speak. Thank you. Sorry, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah. So we've taken all the comments and all the observations. Those that apply to us, will implement. I will also suggest that I think one of the reasons why we don't actually see the mailing list or online thing as one of the key avenues is because most of us don't actually raise those points on the mailing list. We wait, some of us wait until we come to face. So like those minor edits that were suggested, it would be good for somebody to have set it on the mailing list and for the author to have perhaps make the necessary changes. Thank you very much for all your support. Thank you very much for supporting us since the beginning. We've exceeded the time already. I would like to ask that if my co-chair has a final statement, then we'll round up.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful journey back home.
Let everybody know that they should not leave the room. We still have a major election process to go on.